David Martínez. Mr. Martínez, welcome.
Thank you. Representative Allison and all the members of the House Education and Public Works Committee, thank you for having me today. My name is David Martínez. I prefer to be called Davíd, but in South Carolina, for some people, it's hard to pronounce. David will be just fine. I'm here today speaking as a parent, community member, and advocate to oppose H4325, H4343, H4392, H4605, and H4799, or any legislative action that censors any and all discourse of race, gender, class, ethnicity, or censors any content that supports justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, access, or opportunity in our South Carolina education system. From my vantage point as a parent to a young woman embarking on her schooling journey, I'm dismayed at South Carolina's leaders' willingness to write and endorse reductivist legislation that prevents educators from engaging in critical conversations about sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, national origin, or history of oppression and persecution in the United States and our own state of South Carolina. Relevant to our conversation is the lack of nuance throughout the language and discourse of these bills, which purposefully misrepresents critical race theory and the tenets of critical race theory as scholarship which compels anyone to affirm, adopt, or adhere to any idea writ large. These bills tacitly misrepresent critical race theory as identifying and interrogating individuals and everyday residents to proclaim they are inferior and superior rather than systems. Moreover, many advocates of these bills misrepresent critical race theory as culturally relevant pedagogy or social emotional learning, showing an unfamiliarity that should be acknowledged. The language of these bills is far-reaching and prevents educators' ability to teach the full scope of history of the United States, including South Carolina's own historical legacy as a port of slavery, a place of segregation, and a state that for many years through state policy prevented people of color from obtaining an education. Like the South Carolina Slave Code of 1740, Section 45 prevented the instruction of writing, prescribing punishment to those who oppose these laws, so too does this set of legislation prohibit valuable content that teaches how to question and communicate and threatens the agency of educators already strained in our schooling system. From a technical perspective, the language of these policies lacks credibility, leads to more opaqueness, less resolution, and censors a body of knowledge grounded in the genius of African American educators and scholars. It leads to grandiose statements about humanity and freedom without the necessary attention to how the struggle for freedom is intertwined with sanctioned oppression. It leads to misconstrued judgments on all subjects supported through anecdotes and opinion-based rhetoric, which we saw last session, which we've certainly seen today. Finally, these bills are grounded in fear, and passing these bills will lead to more fear, and currently I am fearful. 3 more seconds. I'm fearful that opinion-based rhetoric will displace meaningful discourse. I'm fearful the continued misrepresentation of critical race theory will coerce others into uninformed opinions about curriculum and content and about equity and equality. Fearful that educators' lives and teaching are at risk of greater scrutiny. Fearful administrators will not be able to recruit the necessary staff for their school. And ultimately, I am fearful, like many parents, that our children will not learn a full curriculum based in content which prepares them to critically confront, reconcile, and move forward from our past. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martínez. Questions? None. Thank you so much.
Thank